Okay, so imagine this. You're driving down a road, it's really remote, late at night. Headlights are barely cutting through the darkness. And up ahead, the road just seems to, well, vanish into this like totally black space stretching out in front of you. It's an old tunnel. And something about it just feels off, unsettling, like it's holding on to secrets, maybe whispers of pathways to other places we can't really even grasp. Today, that's what we're diving into. These chilling stories, these urban legends about hidden routes, strange passages to other realms, the kind of stories that really blur that line between what's real and what isn't.
It's a really fundamental fascination, isn't it? This deep-seated human curiosity about other worlds. And often we imagine them hidden right under our noses, or maybe buried in these, profound, unimaginable depths. It really speaks to our constant need to explore, even if it's just through stories, what might lie beyond our everyday reality.
Absolutely. And our mission today is to explore some of the most, compelling and frankly terrifying of these stories from all over the world. We're talking haunted tunnels, seem to just go on forever, mysterious wells rumored to lead straight to damnation, even strange rituals involving ordinary elevators. We'll recount these legends, look into how they kind of emerge, and leave you wondering what might actually be out there just beyond what we can see. So let's start this unsettling journey with physical pathways, places you could actually drive through, maybe. That scenario I mentioned earlier. Driving towards that dark tunnel, it was actually inspired by a real place, the Kiyotaki Tunnel. It's in Kyoto, Japan. Now, Kyoto, you think ancient temples, serene guardians, right? But this tunnel, maybe not as old, but it's definitely earned its own kind of reputation. Have you heard the stories about it?
Oh, I have, yes. The Kiyotaki Tunnel is it's a classic example, really. A place where a difficult past seems to have almost soaked into the structure itself, leaving this lingering dread. The stories about, alleged exploitation, even fatalities during construction, and then the accidents after it opened, it all feeds into this potent mix for spectral claims. It stops being just a tunnel and becomes like a monument to past suffering.
Exactly. People driving through claim they hear a woman screaming, like a really distinct scream, or they suddenly feel incredibly ill just out of nowhere. And maybe even more disturbing, some drivers have actually reported the tunnel feeling like it's getting longer, stretching out, almost like it's trying to swallow them, devour them whole. It's almost as if the tunnel itself takes on this malevolent life, fueled by its grim history. But this idea, a haunted physical passage, it's not just in Japan. You go over to York, Pennsylvania, it seems like a pretty normal place. But if you venture onto some of its really heavily wooded roads, you might find yourself near what locals call the Seven Gates to Hell. Now, there are a few versions of this one, like with most legends, but the basic idea is this. There's one gate you can see during the day, just standing there. But the legend says 6 more appear only at night.
That's interesting, isn't it? How these legends often need a specific trigger, a specific interaction with the environment to sort of activate the supernatural bit. Gates appearing only at night, or maybe only at certain times. It adds to the mystery, that sense of forbidden knowledge. It turns a simple spot into a kind of ritual pathway.
It really does. And the legend goes, if you manage to pass through all 7 of these gates, you eventually find yourself in a world totally separate from ours. And the 5th gate, apparently that's the point of no return. Once you pass that one, you're not coming back. I've actually driven past where it's supposed to be, but I definitely chose not to go exploring. It looked like private property. And I'd certainly advise you listening to do the same. The pull of the unknown is strong, but sometimes best to keep your distance. Now, sometimes these doorways, they don't need you to go deep into the woods or drive through some ancient tunnel. Sometimes they're hidden right in plain sight, in everyday objects maybe, or what people now call liminal spaces. Take mirrors, for instance, just regular mirrors. A lot of people find them inherently creepy, right? Like the thought of seeing someone unexpected behind you is bad enough. But beyond that, some people genuinely believe mirrors can, attract inhuman things, or even transport people to other realms entirely.
Well, what's really fascinating there is the psychological power of that liminal state. It means being on a threshold, right, in between. Transitional, you see it with that whole internet thing about liminal spaces, those pictures of empty hallways, vacant malls, deserted pools. They aren't inherently scary places, but their emptiness, their sort of in-betweenness, it evokes this really profound sense of unease. Makes you feel like you're somewhere you shouldn't be, or maybe on the verge of stepping somewhere else. It's that feeling of being caught between the familiar and the completely unknown.
Yeah, exactly. And building on that idea, that feeling of transitional places, one of the biggest, most shared, and honestly creepiest how-to urban legends online is this thing called the elevator to another world. It's this really precise ritual that supposedly transports you. If you search for it online, you'll find slightly different versions, but the core steps are mostly the same. Okay, so to even try this, you need a building with at least 10 floors. Ideally, they're actually labeled 1 through 10. Time of day, type of building, apparently doesn't matter. But minimal distractions are definitely recommended. The journey, as they say, begins when you step into an elevator on the first floor. Get in alone. Once you're inside, you press the button for the 4th floor. Okay. Then when the doors open on 4, you must stay inside. Don't get out. Let the doors close again. Then you follow this very specific sequence. You press floor 2, then floor 6, then back to floor 2, then floor 10, and finally floor 5.
Wow, that's incredibly specific. Almost like a combination lock or a code. Is there any known significance to that particular sequence? Does it pop up in folklore or numerology, or is it just meant to be memorable and kind of eerie?
It's hard to say, really. Maybe someone knows, but the precision definitely adds to the whole mystique of it. Okay, so you're on floor 5. The doors open. And at this point, a young woman might appear. She might step into the elevator with you. And this part is absolutely crucial. You are warned, do not interact with her. Ignore her completely. No eye contact. Don't make a sound. Nothing. Instead, while she's there, or maybe if she doesn't appear, you press the button for the 1st floor. Now, from this point, one of 2 things can happen. Option 1. The elevator just goes down like normal, back to the 1st floor. If that happens, it means the ritual failed. You're told to get out immediately, leave the building, and whatever you do, don't look back. Option 2. The elevator doesn't go down. Instead, it starts to rise. All by itself, keeps going up, making a final stop at the 10th floor. Apparently, if you're having second thoughts, you can still back out, but only before you reach the 9th floor. If you try pressing any buttons after passing 9, they say it won't work. So assuming you're going through with it, the doors open on the 10th floor. Now remember that woman, the one who might have gotten on at floor 5. She might speak to you then, maybe ask where you're going or what you're looking for. They say this is a trap, but she's probably some kind of sinister entity in disguise. You must not answer her. Instead, you step out, and you find yourself in a world that looks, well, identical to ours. Almost. But it's pitch black outside the windows, and utterly silent. No signs of human life anywhere except for you. You're the only one there. Electronics supposedly don't work in this place, and when you look out, all you see is darkness, except for a single, solitary red cross glowing somewhere in the distance. What happens to the woman from the 5th floor? Nobody seems to know.
So it's like a parallel world, but empty, desolate. That's fascinating. It really taps into our fear of isolation, doesn't it? In that whole uncanny valley thing, something familiar, but just wrong. It's not some monstrous landscape. It's an empty one, which you could argue is even more terrifying. So how do you get back? If you can get back.
Right, the return trip. It's said to be complicated. You have to find your way back to the exact same elevator you arrived in, which might be harder than it sounds. Then you repeat the sequence. 4, 2, 6, 2, 10, 5, and then press 1. Some versions say you reverse the original sequence, but the first way seems more common. So here's the catch. People who claim to have done this say being on the other side messes with your head. You can get really disoriented, confused. You might not even be able to find the elevator again. They say the world itself can seem to warp, like the elevator keeps moving. Sometimes you might think you've made it back, the door is open, but something just feels off, wrong. In that case, the advice is, repeat the sequence again. Trust your gut. Keep doing it until you're absolutely sure you're back where you belong. And then there are these really strange accounts, and some people say they just faint on the way back. They wake up inexplicably back in their own homes, but with this horrible lingering doubt, are they really back? Or are they still trapped on the other side?
Wow. That whole legend has seriously taken root online. Lucia Peters, over at theghostinmymachine.com. She did some amazing research into its origins. Her deep dive back in 2020 pointed towards East Asia, most likely Korea first, then Japan, as the birthplace of this whole thing. It's a perfect example, really, of how the internet acts like this, the superhighway for collaborative horror stories. A simple set of instructions gets passed around, retold, embellished with personal accounts, and suddenly it's this full-blown, chilling narrative. And the fact that it's presented as a game, like a forbidden challenge, makes it really sticky, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. And it sounds like there might be some cultural influences feeding into it, too.
Oh, absolutely. You've got things like Mysterious Transfer Student, that's a Japanese novel, but also a film and TV series where an elevator is actually the way characters meet, and one of them is from another world. Or another one, Nightmare Elevator, which is a Japanese book and drama about strangers getting stuck in an elevator. So these kinds of narratives were probably already floating around, laying the groundwork. And what's maybe even more chilling, there was a real-world event that might have unconsciously fueled this around that time. In June 2006, there was the Manada Award elevator incident in Japan. A 16-year-old boy was tragically killed, pinned by an ascending elevator that seemed to just move on its own. The parallels there to an elevator acting with its own will.
Yeah.
But they're pretty unsettlingly clear when you think about this legend.
Jeez. Okay, so from the unsettling rise of an elevator, well, let's go down, deep down, into the Earth itself. Human ambition, it's led us to forge pathways into the very core of our planet, in a way. Remember the space race? Well, around the same time, countries were also racing downwards, trying to outdo each other by digging deeper into the Earth's crust than anyone else. Soviet Union got really serious about this back in 1970. They started this massive 20-year project called the Kola Super Deep Borehole. It's located in Kola, Russia. And by the time they stopped, they had created the deepest man-made hole ever, about 9 miles deep, which is incredible, though it was only about 9 inches wide. But, with feet like that, 9 miles straight down, there's no wonder rumors started flying. Speculation went wild, and it led to one of the most, terrifying urban legends out there, the wheel to hell. The story goes, the real reason the project was abandoned wasn't technical difficulties or lack of funding. It was because they found something unexpected. They supposedly drilled into this huge hollow cavity miles down. It was unbelievably hot. Some versions of the story claim temperatures hit like 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. But the most horrifying part, the absolute core of the legend, is what they supposedly did next. The story claims scientists lowered a special heat-resistant microphone deep into that hole. And when they played back the recording, well, it was pure nightmare fuel. They heard sounds of voices, screaming, wailing, just layers upon layers of absolute chaos and agony. Hellish sounds. Some versions say the researchers were driven completely mad by what they heard, which led to the hole being immediately sealed up, shut down, the project hushed up forever.
It's a really compelling story, isn't it? Because it's rooted in a real, pretty amazing scientific project. But yeah, as with most urban legends, it definitely took some creative liberties. The Kola Super Deep Borehole is absolutely real. It's still there, though it's abandoned now, bolted shut. But that 9-inch diameter, it makes it physically impossible for anyone to fall in. So the whole well part is immediately out.
Okay, so no one's actually falling into hell then. Phew. But what about the crazy temperatures and those screams? Did they really hear something?
No, thankfully not falling in. And for context, it's in Kola, Russia, not Siberia, like the legend often states. As for the temperatures, well, the actual highest temperature they recorded down there was around 365 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, that was much higher than they expected, and it caused problems for the drilling equipment. But it's a very, very long way from 2,000 degrees. The Smithsonian suggests those high temperatures were a major reason they stopped drilling. Other sources, like the BBC, point more towards the collapse of the Soviet Union and funding drying up. It was probably a combination of factors. But yeah, definitely no screams recorded from the depths. Any sounds they did capture would have been geological noises, rocks shifting, maybe gases amplified, perhaps misinterpreted, not the tormented souls of the damned.
Right. And yet, despite knowing the facts, there's still something undeniably creepy about a 9-mile deep hole just going into the earth. Even if it's only 9 inches wide. It shows how these real-world extremes, these things we actually do, become such fertile ground for our anxieties for myth-making. It really taps into that deep, enduring fascination we seem to have with other worlds, prompting us to constantly spin new stories about pathways to them.
Exactly. It really highlights how scientific unknowns, especially projects that push the absolute boundaries of what humans can do, they often become these canvases for our deepest fears. It's not just about what we actually discovered down there or out there. It's about what we fear we might discover if we push things too far. Our minds just fill in those gaps with the most terrifying possibilities imaginable.
So these urban legends, these chilling tales of hidden pathways, whether they spring from old construction projects or collaborative online horror stories, or even, real scientific endeavors, they clearly possess this enduring power, don't they? They speak to something really primal in us.
Well, what's truly fascinating, I think, is what our continued obsession with these stories actually reveals about us. Are they just reflections of our deepest fears? Fear of the unknown, fear of the boundaries of reality breaking down? Or is it also about our curiosity, our maybe secret desire that there is something more out there just hiding around the corner or beyond the edge of our known world? Maybe it's both. A sort of safe way to explore our fears and a thrilling way to imagine the possibilities.
Yeah, maybe it is a bit of both. The lines between truth, imagination, and just unsettling possibilities, that they get so blurred in these tales, it leaves you wondering, doesn't it? What might actually be lurking in the shadows, maybe just a reflection away in a mirror or an elevator right away or down some deep, dark tunnel? If these tales sent a bit of a shiver down your spine today, be sure to like this deep dive. Maybe share it with someone else who loves a good mystery, a good unsettling story. And definitely subscribe to the Horror Docs channel for more chilling explorations like this one. Until next time, stay curious.
Yeah.
Perhaps maybe avoid those strange elevators, just in case.